We're on.
Cool. Hey, everybody. How's it going? This is our Friday special, extra special quasi Hump Day Hangout. So it's April 24th. We had a really busy Wednesday, and you guys had a lot of really good questions. So we're following up with a special Friday edition. So we'll get to your questions. First, I think I don't know. What do you want to do, Bradley? Do you want to answer the questions that were from Wednesday first, or how do you want to go about it?
Yeah, we should. I mean, that's the whole. By the way, happy non-Hump Day, guys. This is Hump Day Hangouts bonus episode, and we're just basically coming here to cover the questions that we didn't get to on Wednesday because it was more of a formal training event on Wednesday for crowd search, which, by the way, might still be open. If you guys didn't jump on it then, well, then shame on you. You got probably, I don't know if it's available right now or not. You might want to check that.
Yeah, I'm going to take a look right now while we're talking.
And in the meantime, I'm going to, what day was the one that we just did? Sorry, guys, it's Friday. This is not our typical Hump Day, so I'm a little bit scattered. I'm trying to go back. Oh, I know what I meant to do. That was my mistake. So give me 1 minute. We didn't invite enough people to this one, and that's okay. We don't want a ton of questions today because we're going to answer the questions we didn't answer the other day. Answer the other day. So we've already got a ton of questions, but give me 1 moment because I'm going to still send this invitation out to a few more. Okay. It went out, so good enough. All right, so I'm just going to jump right in and grab the screen and go to Hump Day Hangouts page from the other day. And we'll start from the very bottom. We answered just a couple questions, but we'll move up from there. So let me start there. This would be it here. What an eventful week we've had, and I know that. Okay, so we talked to Robert Esposito about affiliate marketing, and Clifton, I remember answering his, and I think we stopped right here at Greg's question. So I'm going to start on this one. As a one-man band, I really need a solid automated strategy to build links for the sole purpose of diluting the anchor text of any page on a money site, including the inner pages as well. In your opinion, what would be the easiest way to accomplish this, where I can set up an automated campaign to run across, let's say, 30 days, building up high-quality links such as high DA Web 2.0s? Okay. That's a good question, Greg. And I know that you had asked me, I think in the Facebook group, and I answered, you had asked specifically about social adder and that you don't think social adders are, decent quality links. And they're not. They're bookmark type links. They're social bookmarks and social signal type links, and they're not the highest of quality. I'll give you that. I still use social adder, though, to dilute anchor text on, older sites with poor link profiles, or to just give a little bit of pillowing. Most all link building I do now is brand terms or naked URLs. I do very, very little keyword search stuff or keyword anchors anymore. So I don't really have much of an issue with over-optimized anchors anymore. But on some older sites that, things that I'm trying to dilute, I'll still use social adder, just so you know, okay? However, if it's something that you want to avoid doing because you feel like they're too low quality and they may be an issue at some point in the future, then by all means you can go with higher quality dilution anchors or dilution links, which in that case, with high DA Web 2.0s, I would suggest FCS Networker. Okay, with FCS Networker, you can set up campaigns that run on autopilot, just like you're asking, and you can do it with the higher. It's Marco trying to call in again. I don't know why he has so much trouble joining our webinars. That's distracting. Where is that coming from? 1 moment. I don't know. Anyways, I'm sorry, guys. That was distracting. I was chirping in the background. So, Greg, FCS Networker is probably going to be your best option. Adam, I don't know if you want to drop that link on the current event page.
Sure.
Not last week's, but the current one. And you might want to tag Greg in that post, or that +1, I mean. Or,
do.
Plus mention him, I should say. Also, Greg, we do offer that service. So I don't know if you have FCS Networker yourself, or if that's something that you want to look into to get. If you're going to be doing a lot of those campaigns, it would be a tool that I highly recommend getting. Okay, because you can set up campaigns that run for weeks at a time. That's what we do, and you can build out themed networks with it. And essentially, you can just select the higher domain authority properties to post to. So it's a very, very powerful tool. And then from there, we obviously build links to those FCS Networker links with GSA. That's our tiered linking that we do. And we offer that as well at links.iftttSEO.com. So that's something that you could look into, either buy FCS and do it yourself, or hire somebody that already has it. And we do provide that solution as well, okay? So as well as this, how would you suggest sourcing the content considered it needs to be of high quality for Tier 1? Could we somehow set up RSS feeds from high authority sites and mix our links into that content and syndicate it across the Tier 1 platforms? How else would you source good content that is easy to acquire without paying someone to write articles? Well, that's therein lies the problem, Greg. If you're asking for high quality links and high quality content in an automated way, and that's a tall order. You know what I mean? So typically what I do is I pay outsourcers or VAs that curate articles for me so that they're not writing articles, because it's very difficult to find outsourcers at a affordable rate that can write content that are actually knowledgeable about the content that, the topic that they're writing about. If you're doing client work and stuff like that, they're going to need to know about multiple topics, and that's just not really feasible, or it's expensive. Well, it's one or the other. So instead, I have VAs located in the Philippines, and what they do is they curate content, because then they're using other people's content that are topical authorities and curating articles, which makes them unique, because curated articles, and they're attributing the sources, so they're citing the sources, they're giving proper attribution back to where the content sources came from, and that suffices for good quality, unique content, and it gives and it's high quality, so it works like a charm. But once again, we're paying for curation then at that point. It's a manual process. It's not something I would automate. Okay. I know there are automation methods to curate and automate posts. However, as I've recommended many times, I do not recommend you automate your posting to Tier 1 properties, or to your money site. I don't recommend that, because a lot of the times it ends up not being as good as you would hoped, and at some point it could be detrimental. It could cause you problems. Okay. So again, you're asking that, to me, that's like, how do I get the highest quality links on autopilot with content that's completely auto created or auto generated? It's a very difficult task. So the only thing I can suggest is what we do, or what I do, and that's to hire VAs that can curate, use other people's content. They can pump out a very well crafted article in about 20 minutes flat. Okay, and then also you can use products, like I said, like FCS Networker, to get the higher quality links. But once again, you're going to have content issues with that as well. Okay, I'm essentially looking for a solid, repeatable, and fully automated go-to method that I can switch on, because at the moment my link building is so disparate. I'm doing a lot of manual link building from PBNs, and I really need something that I can set up and forget and trust to do a good job. I use Magic Submitter some time back, but it's too expensive. Thanks. Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, that's the game. That's what we play, and it's difficult because once again, automating all of that, that would be a wonderful tool if we had that, something that could do what you're asking for. Unfortunately, I don't know that exists. If it did, we would be using it. It's kind of like we just got to set up your outsourcers and use the tools that are available. If that makes sense. Sorry, Greg, I didn't have a better answer for you, but that's the reality. Michelle says, I have a site that I created before I knew anything about silos. Silos are structuring a website properly. I've tried to do a modified silo by having 4 pages that link to the home page and posts related to each page or topic category, linking to the page and the home page. But no, that was done somewhat inconsistently. It ranks in the top 30s for 4 main keywords. Does anyone know of a link manager plugin that they could recommend? It would help me get a grasp on this. By the way, all of my links are do follow as well. Thanks. Okay, well, Michelle, first of all, if you're linking from within silos and you're linking back up from the supporting posts up to your silo landing page or your top level page and to the home page, then you're already bleeding your theme. So that's essentially you're not keeping your silo structure very tight, so you're losing juice throughout your silos. And you're pushing relevancy up to the home page, but I found that to not be as effective anyways, like as far as I can't really get into it because it's really let's see if I can show that graphic at least. Talked about this yesterday in Mastermind, and I've got a graphic that I had already produced. Are you seeing my full screen, Adam?
We're seeing everything.
Okay. All right. So, and just looking at this being your home page, Michelle, this being your top level category page, and these being posts right here. You see I already have the linking structure here drawn out. This is how you should be linking within the silo itself. You shouldn't be linking, and this is almost identical to what we were talking about yesterday. So let me just grab this. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, so you can see that from the top level category. Okay, let's start from the top. From the root domain, the home page, you've got a link right here. Usually it's in the navigational bar that's linking to your top level category page. Okay, then from there, you've got contextual links or some sort of navigational link specific to that, or some sort of navigation menu specific to that silo that links to every one of the posts in that silo, the supporting posts. Okay. Then from the supporting posts, you should always link back with a contextual link back up to the silo landing page. But if you do this, where you also link from the from the supporting articles up to the home page, you're bleeding the theme of this silo. So you're already losing juice, especially if you are going to link to the home page from within there. You should be doing no follow links, because then you keep the relevancy, you keep the silo, the juice flowing from within the silo, and those no follow links are purely navigational links, meaning they're just for visitors, but they're not passing juice and they're not passing keyword relevancy. Does that make sense? If you do this, then what happens is you start to push the keyword relevancy to the home page, which actually weakens the silo in its entirety. And what happens sometimes, and I talked about this very specifically yesterday, is generally you want to rank the posts for long tail terms, because if somebody is searching a long tail search, they're looking for specific information. And so if your post is ranking for that long tail phrase, they're likely to click on it and seek and find the information that they were seeking. Whereas when you start pushing the keyword relevancy back up to the home page, a lot of the times the home page will end up being the one that ranks for the long tail term. And when somebody lands on that, most likely they're not going to be getting the answer or that they were looking for, the information that they were looking for, because most likely your home page doesn't address that specific long tail phrase. And so I found, and I've tested this I've tested this over and over again, because I've been able to push homepage to rank for the long tail phrases by doing these types of links. But I found that it lowered my conversion rate. And since I mostly do local, what I meant by conversion was a phone call or a lead generated for the business. And I found that by pushing the homepage up to these long tail terms, by making that show up in the search results for the long tail terms, which is what happens when you do these types of links, then I actually lowered my conversion rate. And when I came back through and removed those links, and I got my long tail terms or posts to end up ranking instead, then my conversion rates went back up. Okay, so not only do you want to keep your relevancy within that silo itself, if you have to link back up to, for whatever reason, if it's just natural and you want to put a link back to the home page for whatever reason within the content, make it a make it a no follow link, so that you're keeping the link juice within this silo, and you're not pushing the anchor text ratio. You're not pushing the anchor terms up to the home page either. Okay, does that make sense?
Hey Bradley.
Yeah.
Again, this would be a perfect time to send them to that Bruce Clay article on
Sure.
silos.
Sure.
Just to get them really acquainted, to give them a really good idea of how silos work, how to structure them, what they do, and why they're built the way they're built.
Right. Let me grab the article. I've got this bookmark somewhere, but I can never find the damn bookmark. This is it, right? No, that's not it. It's the other one. There it is. Hey, Adam, I'm going to drop this in chat. If you want to put this tagger on it, please.
Sounds good.
Okay, so hopefully that answers that question, Michelle. Like, honestly, you know, I don't know where you got your internal linking from, training from, but that I would recommend not linking to the homepage, and if you do, make it no follow. All your do follow links should link within that specific theme or that silo only. Okay, number one. Number two, a link manager plugin, I don't recommend that. I still do all of my internal linking manually because you have much more control over it. When you try to use those automated tools that do that sort of thing, a lot of the times they make mistakes that will bleed your theme, and they're not as near as effective. Okay, unfortunately, that is something that I still do manually. I've yet to find a plugin that did it up to my, satisfactorily, in my opinion. If somebody on this call knows of one, please, by all means, share it. And again, I would probably still not. I'd still rather do it manually myself. Sergey says, on the last webinar you said that using, I answered this on Wednesday, so I'm not going to rehash that. Mary asked about using cloud search to its maximum potential. That's what we did on Wednesday. Michelle says, if you go over best practices for syndwire, I think that you have stated that Tier 2 only for money site and Tier 1 or direct-to-video and other high DAs. Should you be putting other content in the form of feeds to these accounts, similar to what we do with IFTTT, and even theme these networks? Thanks. Yeah, Michelle, I theme the networks within syndwire just like I do within IFTTT. In other words, I create a persona, or I don't, my VAs do, but they create a persona and build out the entire persona network. So all of the sites that I use within syndwire are, under one persona, will all be themed around a particular niche. It's more general in nature than they are with the IFTTT stuff. So, again, I'll still have like home improvement stuff, or I'll have, health and wellness, or I'll have technology, that sort of thing, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, I still try to theme them, but I make them a bit more general than I would with the IFTTT networks. That way I can use them for more than just, a very specific industry. But I definitely, without a doubt, 100% theme those, guys. We're in the semantic web, Web 3.0, whatever you want to call it, and that is like, it's all about trust and trust flow, and that is how you get that, is through relevancy, okay, and theming your networks. Very, very important. You're going to get a lot better results out of that. So, number one, yes, I theme the networks. Number two, I use syndwire mainly for Tier 1 links for videos, and then also for supplemental links to build additional links to my network properties. Okay, I don't use syndwire direct to my money site. It's not that you can't. It's fine that if you do that. There's a lot of people that are doing that, and that's absolutely fine. I'm just telling you I do not, because I use it. I use IFTTT networks as Tier 1, and then I build supplemental links to those Tier 1 properties. Okay, except for videos. For videos, I'll do straight to the videos with syndwire, and that's just how I use it. Again, it's not the only way to use it. That's just how I use it, because I like to keep really, really good control over my Tier 1 links, and that's why I use the IFTTT networks and syndicate my own content to it. It's not spun. They're highly themed. They're well taken care of, and then I just juice the hell out of those Tier 1 properties using tools like syndwire and FCS Networker and GSA out at Tier 3, and additional options like that, if that makes sense. Should I be putting content in the form of feeds to these accounts, similar to what we do with IFTTT? You can. I've had a little bit of some issues with RSS feeds in syndwire. You absolutely can. You can put feeds in there and that will help. Like if you've got networks in syndwire that aren't real active, like you're not always posting to them, then I would suggest mixing some content feeds in there just to keep the networks updated with content, themed content once again. But it's not something that you have to do. Okay. If you're using syndwire fairly, often, then you're probably good enough. I just wouldn't post links back to the same properties to the same networks every time. What I mean by that is, like, if you've only got, let's say, 200 accounts inside of syndwire, and you're always building links to, just a handful of properties that you have, or a handful of websites, or whatever it is that you're building links to, then you're leaving a pretty clear footprint. I would be careful with that. Then I would mix some other content in there, right? Or just randomly post link to other people's content at times, just to kind of mix it up. Carly, I want to make a single video into multiple videos that appear unique using the standard YouTube video upload. I don't know how to do YouTube Hangouts and live events at this time. I am more interested in getting test videos on YouTube. Google, will varying the length plus or minus a few seconds or using different background music, etc. work? Yes, it will, Carl. Can I use the standard YouTube upload, or does it only work using YouTube Live and Hangouts? Are there any other things that I can do? Yeah, no, if you have ability to edit the video, you can edit the length, you can edit the background music, you can also change the encoding. So if it's like an MP4, you can change it to a WAV file, right? Or I'm sorry, a WMV file, Windows Media Player file. For example, you can change the different types of encoding. There's also different versions of encoding for some of each of those. There's also software programs that you can buy called like video spinners. I've tried a few of them, and I must hit caps lock.
Yeah, and one else, if you are interested in doing the streaming, YouTube Live Commando can alter the videos as well for you, so it can create, like 100 unique videos out of one.
Yeah, and here, like, just go to Google search and type in video spinner. And you'll see, like, right here, like the very first one. I've got one of them that I tested. It's not the greatest. I'm not sure which one it is. I don't think it's this one. But you know, you can take a video and you can add it to one of these, and they're usually like $30. This one's $37. You can probably even do a search for a coupon code and probably find it and get it for about 27 or $30. But you can find software programs that will spin the video file and they'll just change the encoding and they'll change the file length and background music and stuff and do everything for you very quickly. I mean, it's not a very sophisticated software program. It's just you add your file, you click a spin button, and it will change it enough to make it unique, a unique file in Google YouTube's eyes. Okay. So, and I know there's probably better projects than that. I would look for an online application, a cloud-based app, instead of a piece of software, because they'll tend to stay updated more and work better. So just so you know. Okay, Carl. Any other things that you can do? Yeah, learn how to do, or you know, find something like some sort of streaming software that you can use, because then that's going to make the file unique every time you stream a video. Okay, right now Wirecast isn't working for me. I don't know if it's working for anyone else, but I can't get Wirecast to work, so I'm streaming through Hangout Millionaire. Zach has a ton of questions. Let's roll through these. Hi, Bradley, Adam, and the guys. First time posting a message, but I think I've watched all your videos dating back to November. Wow, Zach. And purchased the IFTTT Academy training several weeks ago. My list of questions is growing. This time I'm actually getting around to posting them. Get ready, probably an ugly mix of totally newbie and high-level questions. Somewhere, I'm not sure if it was in the Academy or in a Hangout, Bradley mentions using a particular type of proxy, or at least requirements of the proxies we need to use. What kind of proxies should we be using to create Google accounts? I just use proxies from essentially the reason why I'm like I use US-based proxies because my team's in the Philippines. So the proxy providers that I recommend using are easy proxies, but there's also byproxies.org. I've used them in the past many times. A lot of students use those now, so byproxies.org. I would recommend getting private proxies. Do not get shared or semi-shared proxies, because a lot of times you'll find that those are blacklisted, or they get burned up because you don't know what other people are doing with them, and so you'll have trouble with those proxies, and it's more hassle than it's worth. Spend a few extra dollars and get private proxies or dedicated proxies, okay? Which means they're specific to you. I personally like to use easy proxies because you get a permanent set of proxies that obviously from time to time they burn out or they do get blacklisted anyways, and you still have to contact support and they'll send you a new list. But I like them because they'll give you a list, and as long as the proxies are working, they don't replace them every 30 days. And that works for me and my team because they just cycle through them. There's also HTTP proxies, which is a different type of proxy that you have to use. You have to use them differently, how you set it up in Firefox, for example. But HTTP proxies work really well too. And there's a proxy provider that I use called IPNow. I think it is. NewIPNow.com. NewIPNow.com is a HTTP proxy provider that gives you anonymous proxies, and those are, once again, those are permanent proxies as well, instead of changing them every 30 days. Byproxies.org will give you proxies, and every 30 days they send you a new list. So I don't know what your proxy needs are. If you're just doing this solo act and you're not, supporting a team at the moment, then you probably only need a couple of proxies. I would say no more than 5. Which you can buy 5 dedicated proxies from byproxies.org. I'm not sure what easy proxies, the one that I use. I have multiple sets of proxies through easy proxies because I use those for tools and stuff too. But I know New IP Now will sell you just 2 proxies if you want them.
Yeah, easy proxies is a 10 minimum.
10 minimum, okay. And New IP Now will sell you like 2 proxies if you want, if that's all you want is 2. And again, they're permanent proxies, and I tend to like those. All you got to do is just keep this in mind, like when creating accounts, I would not create more than 2 accounts on any one proxy, and I mean 2 Google accounts. So, like in other words, if you log in with a proxy today and you create the Google account, you can create the Tumblr and the WordPress and the Blogger and the Delicious and Digo. You can create the whole set, the whole profile set of accounts. All of the accounts within that profile set is what I mean. Under that one proxy, that's fine. Then you can even clear your cache and cookies and log back into the same proxy or through the same proxy and create another Google account and another set of accounts for that profile. But I wouldn't do more than 2 Google accounts in any one 24-hour period. That's kind of like the magic number that my team and I have discovered. If you go above 2, sometimes it'll work, sometimes it'll force a phone verification. And so I would just recommend keeping it no more than 2 accounts in a 24-hour period. Then after that 24 hours is done, you can create another 2 accounts on that same proxy. Okay. So should we be using proxies for anything other than creating Google accounts with the scope of our SEO efforts? I'm talking about logging into PBNs, things like that. I've been accumulating all types of web properties, and I don't want them flagged for being on the same IP. Should I worry about that? Yeah, I mean, you can. I got to be real honest with you. I don't. I clear Firefox out, cache and cookies. I make sure that I'm not using Google as my default search engine for Firefox when I clear it all out. Okay, so like I'll set Bing or Yahoo as my default search engine for Firefox. And then I wipe everything clean, and then I'll log into my PBNs. I know from the Skyfall update, apparently they're going to be logging that kind of stuff at some point, but I'm not seeing any negative effect from it at the moment, so I don't. It's too much of a hassle. But if you are one of the paranoid type, then by all means you can do that. It's just kind of a, it's just one extra step that's a pain in the ass. I know Michael Bose, our supports tech now, he's also a mastermind member. He uses a VPN, and he loves it. It's called Viper VPN. And it makes things a lot easier than proxies, and apparently more reliable, at least by his account. So you might want to look into getting a VPN. Okay. Quick question about PBNs and hosting, SEO hosting or dollar hosts, and why. I do not like dollar hosts. They are more trouble than they're worth. I don't care what people say about footprints and all that. If you go with a good SEO host, they're already taking care of any footprint issues, provided you know how to build your sites and manage your records properly. You shouldn't have any footprint issues if you go with a knowledgeable and good SEO host. Dollar hosts are more pain than they're worth because you're going to have a lot of downtime with your sites. I promise you that. I guarantee you with 100% certainty that if you go with dollar hosts, you're going to have issues with uptime. In other words, your sites are going to be down a lot, which is terrible for SEO. You're also going to have issues with plugins and configurations and server issues where things stop working. You'll get 500 internal server errors. You'll get the white screen, the blank white screen where you can't log in. You'll spend more time dealing with support issues trying to get your sites to work properly than it's worth. So you're better off going with a good SEO host. I can name one, nonameinternet.com. It's not an affiliate link. Go to nonameinternet.com. Andreas Pastor, he's a great guy. He knows what he's doing. He's probably one of the best in the business as far as PBN or SEO hosting. And they know how to hide their footprints very, very well. So as long as you know how to build your sites properly, you should be fine. That's what I use, and I highly recommend them. And
don't forget bad neighborhoods when you get stuck on a $1 host.
Yep. You get some of the most spammiest sites in the world, and that's going to hurt your site as well, including your PBNs. Okay. Anyways, another quick one about PBNs. Can I add all of them under one Webmaster Tools account? No, you can't do that. You can add them under multiple Webmaster Tools account and then add yourself as a manager and manage them from one dashboard at that point. But I would not add all your PBNs under one Webmaster Tools account. In fact, I will not usually put more than 4 or 5 sites on any one Webmaster Tools account ever. Okay? Just keep that in mind, because you're really, really opening. If you put all your eggs in one basket, what happens if that basket gets taken from you? You know what I'm saying? So just very, very important that you spread that across. By the way, if you're building Persona accounts, you're going to have plenty of Google accounts. Spread them out. Spread your sites out to where the owner is one of your personas, the Google Webmaster Tools owner, okay, the owner of the site, and then you can assign yourself your profile as a manager, and that way you can manage them from one dashboard. You can do the same thing with analytics, okay? Just make sure that the persona is the owner, and you're just a user. Okay, does setting up subdomains have any other SEO advantages apart from protecting the root domain from potential black hat backlash? Yeah, there are. There's a lot of things. For example, setting up multiple subdomains, like when you're doing local, for example, I do this all the time. But if I'm building out, like, let's say, plumber site. So let's say I have localplumbers.com as my main root domain, and then I want to build for Fairfax, Virginia. So I'll build fairfax.localplumbers.com or fairfaxva.localplumbers.com if I wanted to. I could do richmondva.localplumbers.com. I could do fredericksburgva.localplumbers.com. Each one of those are going to be standalone sites on a subdomain. Each time I build a new site on a subdomain and I build links to that site, I'm going to be increasing or raising the domain authority of the root domain, which means on the any subsequent build, each one of those subsequent builds are going to benefit from the domain authority. So it accumulates, right? It accumulates. It's a cumulative effect. The more sites that you put on that root domain, the higher the domain authority is, and the more benefit you're going to get from any additional sites that you add on to that. So there's a lot of reason why. There's a lot of benefits for using subdomains, guys. I love subdomains. I build everything on subdomains. It's very, very powerful. Well, he's got a lot of questions. Does having the other extension for a site help in the same way subdomains do? .org, .net, .co. I haven't noticed that. That's good for protecting your brand, but I haven't noticed having other. There's no connection. There's no physical connection there, so I don't know how they could possibly help. With the subdomains, there's a physical connection. So if you have a subdomain or a root domain, and you have subdomain A, B, and C, so you got 3 separate subdomains, and you build links to subdomain A, and it increases the domain authority from 1 when you first register the domain to, let's say, 20, then automatically subdomain B and subdomain C are going to have a domain authority of 20, because they're benefiting. It's a site-wide metric. Domain authority is a site-wide metric. Okay, so that's why that's important. But having a domain authority on a .com of 20 and a domain authority of 30 on a .org with the same root, it doesn't matter. There's 2 separate entities, so they're not going to benefit from each other. Does that make sense? Okay, I know the training says to create personas, but I'm wondering about making simply branded networks around different niches like Tumblr. That's not John Doe's blog with the latest real estate news or cute animal videos or something. Is there a reason other than the work that would cause it to discourage us? No, not at all. I mean, you could, if you've got a brand, brand it. And even when I create persona stuff, guys, I try to brand the persona. In other words, the persona is going to have a blog, right? And the blog is going to have a brand name, even if it's just the persona's brand, which can be a brand. But there's no reason to stop that. Get creative with it, guys. I mean, seriously, we just give you the instructions because it makes it easier to set up than always trying to be creative and create brands around everything. But if that's what you want to do, test it. Run with it. Absolutely, it will help. And could you explain to me how press releases work? And that would be great. Wow, these are a lot of questions. I know Bradley has a service that he especially likes, but I'm asking about the purpose, whether they can be released manually, and how should we be incorporating them into our SEO plans. Press releases are great. They're very, very powerful. I don't know about what releasing manually means. You've got to find a distribution source in order to really get. I mean, press releases in and of themselves have little to no value. Where the value comes in is when they get picked up and distributed, and they get picked up and republished by multiple media outlets, because that's where you get the juice. That's where the links come from. Okay. Granted, I'm talking about from a purely SEO standpoint. Okay. I mean, press releases can also be beneficial because if it's a valid press release, if you have something that's newsworthy or that can attract real attention, they can provide an enormous amount of traffic too. Okay? But from a pure SEO standpoint, press releases have value when they get picked up, distributed, and republished by other media outlets, which will give you the link back from generally higher quality sources, and it will give you IP diversity and also traffic, because you still end up getting traffic from press releases. If they're not very newsworthy, you'll probably get very little traffic, but you'll still get the links. Okay. So as far as being released manually, I don't know exactly what that means, but I mean, unless you have some way to get them to media outlets manually by yourself, which I don't even know that you could, you're going to need a distribution channel, and that's where the services come in. Okay. What are their purpose? Their purpose is to create or to announce things. Like, that's how bottom line here is, press release, you either need. Wow, who's dying?
I think Marco might have had a cough attack there.
Marco, is he all right? Is he going to make it?
I think so.
Okay. Press releases, guys, they're really, really powerful. What I recommend is, unless you're a very creative writer where you can find a hook to tie into something into your website, you can use, the normal day-to-day news. Like, if you find a news story, if you're creative enough, you can find a way to tie it back into something on your website, and you can use, it's newsjacking, right? You can find other news, current events, something that's going on in the world or in your town or anything, any kind of current event that you can tie it somehow, some way back to your website. And if you get creative, you can do it. I'm not that creative. So what I do is I just hire a writer. I've got a great writer on Odesk. She's awesome. Every time I need a press release, all I send her is who, what, when, where, why, and how. That's it. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. Those are the things that I send her, and it can be very, very brief, and she always finds a way to create something that's newsworthy. She social engineers something, and then she writes a press release for me, and I just send it to my distribution channels, and it's done. So a good PR writer is worth their weight in gold. You know, you can pay anywhere between $15 to $30 for a good press release. You can pay a lot more too, but if you go digging through Odesk, you can generally find somebody that'll do press releases for you for a good price. Okay, and so just keep that in mind. It's worth it. Whenever I've tried to write press releases myself, it'll take me 2 or 3 hours to do it. I'd rather pay somebody $20 or $25, let them do it, and I'm on. You know, it's done. Okay. Let's see. How should you be incorporating the SEO plans? Anytime you can find anything to announce for your site, you could even use press releases to announce a new blog post. Wouldn't recommend it unless there was something particularly, you know, cool or exciting about the blog post itself. But like, think about for contractor stuff, seasons, when seasons change, there's like seasonal services. You can announce, hey, it's the start of the next season, or we're reopening our new service of whatever your new service may be, blah, blah, blah. And it could be an old service, but it's just the change of the season, and you're just reminding everybody that, you know, your services are changing, blah, 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 whatever. Could be a number of things. Like HVAC guys, you could do an press release about, like, you know, right now is a good time to make sure that your heat pumps are serviced and cleaned properly, and, you know, when was the last time you had it done, and blah, blah, blah. Okay? Hopefully that helps. Frequency and content. You know, I do press releases probably like maybe once a month for clients and stuff. If you can do them more, they're going to be more beneficial, obviously. But again, the hard part is finding the hook. Okay. Wow, that was a lot.
Yeah.
Ken
Sorry
said,
about that.
huh?
That's what happens when you're live.
Yeah.
Hey, you're
Still alive.
We're glad you're alive.
Yeah, I was genuinely concerned for a minute. Ken Roberts says, how do I get the videos embedded in the WordPress Tumblr blogger from a YouTube feed? You can't, Ken. It's going to be a link only. From a YouTube feed, it's just going to end up being a link. I'm using the new YouTube feed in IFTTT. This is a Tier 1 Persona network. YouTube feed in IFTTT. This is a Tier 1 Persona network. Okay. Then I would just recommend using blog feed. If that's an issue for you, Ken, just use blog feeds instead of or what you could do is actually set up a secondary. This is what you could do, Ken. You could set up a secondary IFTTT account and connect your Tier 1 Persona network channels. You can connect a channel, like for example a blogger blog, to more than one IFTTT account. So I know this would take a little bit of work, but you could set up a secondary IFTTT account, and you connect all of your Tier 1 Persona network properties, activate those as channels as well for the secondary IFTTT account, and then take your other content source, your YouTube channel, and instead of using the feed, you connect that YouTube channel as a I guess you couldn't do that unless you had rights to that channel, though. Yeah, you'd have to have authorization for that channel. So, good question. Yeah, you're just going to have to use the feed, Ken. Otherwise, you're going to have to just use like regular blog feeds. Sorry about that. And I am mixing in other content so the networks won't get slapped. What networks won't get slapped? I'm wondering what you're asking about. Because if it's a Web 2 network, man, they don't get slapped. I mean, they really don't. Your money site could if you're not careful with hiding your footprint, but your network itself isn't going to get slapped. Trying to mix in other YouTube videos too. Using entry content will not embed the video, only post a link. You're right, and that's just the way it is. That's why I use the blended feeds out at Tier 2. So they're not, it didn't, or I'm sorry, the YouTube feeds out at Tier 2. If that makes sense. Unfortunately, Ken, there's no really way to do that. However, by the way, did you guys see I posted in the Facebook group today, or I actually didn't paste, I posted it to my wall on accident, my Facebook feed or whatever, that they now have a new recipe in YouTube where if you like a video, it will post it. So you could essentially, Ken, you could go into your a YouTube channel, like I was just trying to explain. If you don't have access to connect another YouTube channel, you could still set up a YouTube channel on a secondary, and connect it to your IFTTT Persona network, or use the if you'd probably have a YouTube channel anyways with that persona, and just log in as that persona and go like the videos that you want to include. It's a bit of a manual process. Hire a VA to do that. Hire a VA to twice a week or whatever, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, to log in to YouTube. Give them keywords to search on, find a video or channels that you already have videos, and tell them to just go like a couple videos a week. It's another way to do it. Chris says, hey, Bradley and team, I recently signed up to crowd search after receiving your email. Certainly looks exciting. I'm confused, though. All my campaigns are showing keyword search volume 25. Oh, didn't we already talk about this the other day? I think we did. Are you aware of any issues on my... yeah, the keyword... Oh, the keyword search volume of 25 have smart rank disabled. Yeah, if they're local terms, if they don't have enough search volume, it's going to show that every time, Chris. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is, and it's Dan said the other day that they're working on improving some of these things. I don't know if that's one of them. I can't remember. But yeah, I mean, pretty much probably 80% of all the stuff that I set up in there, it shows the same thing: search volume of 25, and hence smart rank disabled. So you just got to be smart about how you set up your campaigns. Unfortunately, that's the way it is for now. But Dan is improving that software or that service all the time. He's got a lot of really, really cool upgrades coming out in the next couple months. So hang in there, use it the best that you can for now, and you'll be glad when those upgrades come out. What time is it? We're running out of time already, and we're looking up. God, Jesus, we've got not even a third up the page yet.
Well, it's going to start going faster here. A lot of this stuff was replies, so I think we're actually doing pretty good.
Hello again, men. Here are my questions for this week's live event. Is there a penalty for repeating certain content pieces on almost every page of a blog? Yes, there can be. That can cause Panda issues, Monique. So if you have a particular piece of content that gets... here's a good example. A lot of people overlook this. But if you have a particularly tall footer area on a WordPress theme, and you've got, let's say, a widget in the footer area that has text in it, like a guarantee clause or something like, and a lot of service contractors have stuff like that. Believe it or not, that can actually cause duplicate content issues, especially if your content, your posts, your pages are thin on content, like a lot of service contractors are. So, for example, if you've got a page that says you do water heater repair service and it's got 300 words on that page and that's it, okay, and then you've got a footer area that's got a lot of text in it, that text is, and maybe it's got 50 words in it. Now you're looking at a sizable percentage of the text on that page that is also on every other page, right? Because that 50 words makes up a large percentage of that page. So you do run into Panda issues, duplicate content issues. So the way to fix that is if you have a particular piece of content or text that shows up on almost every page of the blog, or every page of the blog, is take a screenshot of it and turn it into an image, and then use that image with the text on it on every page instead of the text itself. Does that make sense? Because now it's not being read as text; it's being read as an image, and it will change that duplicate content issue. So, like, that's what I'll do with widgets. If there's a guarantee clause or something, whatever it may be, I'm just using that as an example. I'll put the text in the footer, go view the web page, the live web page, then I'll take a screenshot of it, then I'll go back and remove the text and upload the file, the image, and then it looks like text, but it's really an image. Does that make sense? Okay. Can you have a few different YouTube playlist embeds on your site when each playlist may repeat one or more of the same individual videos in them? Will that be duplicate content? No, don't worry about that. Yes, you can do that. That's fine. Don't worry about that. Have you ever tried a blog setup with a series of posts and pages which you change all the time rather than writing new posts and pages each time there is something new to update? Yeah, that works well if you're adding content to existing pages. If you're changing the full content of the page every time, I found that difficult to keep ranked. This would be more of a set site structure when you use a blog system to better manage your websites rather than thinking of a blog as a need to continually add new posts. So you're talking about like a dynamic setup. I found those difficult to rank. I haven't done that a lot. I don't know. I haven't tested it in a while, but I've always found like dynamic setups harder to rank than more static. However, if you have updates and stuff, that actually will help stuff rank. For example, if you've got a page that has 800 words of content on it originally, and then every month you go in and you add another 150 or 200 words as updates or something like that, I found that that freshness factor actually helps it to rank even better, provided that it's still relevant content that you're adding to that page. Can a person use the redirect option in cPanel for one of the double 301 redirect steps in the same manner as the other ways you taught? Is she in our mastermind? I don't think Monique's in our mastermind. How does she know about that? Wow. This would be more of a set site structure where you use. Wait a minute. I skipped around. Excuse me. If yes, one run-through example would help. Okay, well, first of all, yeah, you can use cPanel to do a redirect option in cPanel. Yes, that would work. I cannot give an example of that here. That's reserved for mastermind members only. Certainly not on a Hump Day Hangout. Okay, so how you even heard about that? That's great that you know about that, Monique. But if you would like some training on that, God, we have done week after week after week of training inside of the mastermind about those and about all the different configurations for double 301 redirects and trust flow manipulation and oh God, it goes on and on and on. So if you want to learn about that, please come join us in the mastermind. Have you tried, that's a cue by the way, Adam, have you tried posting with taxonomies of post 1, page 1, bonus 1, post 2, page 2, bonus 2, and so on, which all links to each other in theory to take advantage of visitor curiosity to try out post 3, page 3, bonus 3 searches if they saw the first two to dive deeper and soak up all of the content, especially when the site is not one that shows the site posts readily in navigations. The numeric system could help them then. No, that's interesting. That would be kind of cool to see. If you were to put that together, Monique, that would make a really, very nice case study. Maybe we could you know, share that with others as well if you did put that together. It's not something I've tried. That's an interesting idea. We've done some pretty cool stuff with taxonomies, though, for pushing some SEO stuff, pushing juice into pages on like the down low, like where it's very difficult for other people to detect what you're doing. And we were going to talk about that in Mastermind yesterday, and we didn't get time, but we are going to talk about that next time in Mastermind. So once again, join us for Mastermind, and we're going to talk about using canonicals in a very ninja fashion. All right. I think you're right. Can we scroll through these right quick, Adam?
I mean, yeah. Hey, Bradley.
Yeah.
You're talking about the mastermind. Tell them about what we have coming up. What's in the lab right now?
What's cooking in the oven? You mean?
Yeah, man.
I don't know that we should yet, man. How about you? Just you go ahead and you're our pitch pimp. Go ahead, Marco.
Well, I don't want to make it a pitch because it's not really a pitch. It's just we have some awesome stuff with we do. How to rank with Twitter, how to rank with PDFs, how to rank with PowerPoint presentations. I'm not gonna say how or the way that it's going to be done, but imagine if you have a YouTube network where you're ranking videos and you're ranking videos through your website and you're ranking your social profiles, and then all of a sudden you're ranking PDFs and PowerPoint presentations. You're not going to give your competition anywhere where they can get in and get a ranking. So you're going to blanket whatever niche you're trying to go for. Along with that, we're developing our plugin. You know, the free plugin that you're seeing right now and that many of you are using. We're developing that exponentially, where it's going to post different RSS feeds to the different social media, and it's going to refresh.
Hashtags.
I mean, it's going to have everything. It's going to be the best ever plugin.
It'll have different feeds for different social networks, guys. It's going to have hashtags. It's going to. I mean, we're integrating it with the training that we're cooking up right now with one of our mastermind members. Actually, is kind of a JV or a partnership agreement with him with some of the stuff that Marco's talking about with PowerPoint presentations and PDFs and stuff, and autopilot, guys, and that's part of the reason why we're integrating it with our plugin, which you guys have the free version of it. It's going to be coming out as a premium plugin, and as of course, Mastermind members will get that as well. But yeah, you know, we'll be releasing that here shortly, probably within the next few weeks. So you guys will get that as well. We'll have the opportunity to purchase that too, unless you're a Mastermind member, with which you'll get that for free. So.
Well, that's the point. If you're in the Mastermind, that stuff is free to you. So think about it.
Okay, looks like we're done on this page.
Yeah, we're done. If you head over to today's event page, it looks like you might have had a question queued up from Jeff via Facebook.
Yeah, let's get to that. Okay, Jeff, I've tried to put this question to bed 100 times over, and I'm going to try for 101 now. And so this question is about how to set up the tiered networks so that you're not posting from one to the other and creating a loop where multiple posts. And in fact, we were talking with a developer today in another partnership arrangement with one of our mastermind members with some other software applications that we're developing at the moment. And one of his coders or programmers gave me a light bulb, an aha moment on how to try to answer this question in a very logical fashion that you know, and that's why programmers are the way they are. And anyways, hopefully this will put this to bed, because I am really getting tired of answering this question. Nothing against you, Jeff. I'm just I don't understand why it's so difficult. So we're going to try to put this in a way right now that I think is going to help. I hope so.
I can't see the post. What was the question?
You can't see that. Can you click on the link?
Yeah, I tried bringing it up. It says it's a dead link for me.
Really? Okay, here, I'll post this in the chat box for you, Adam.
Thanks.
You click on that and tell me if you see it. All right.
Yeah, weird. Okay, thanks.
All right, guys. So this is what I'm going to say. This is the money site. The question that keeps coming up is how to structure these tiered networks so that you're posting in a proper fashion. And like I said, the genius, and I mean that with all sincerity too, I'm not being sarcastic, one of the developers we were on a meeting with today, let me make this a little bit bigger. Can you guys see this okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, he put it in very logical terms as how he is envisioning what we're trying to do. And it was like an aha moment for me. And so on how I could maybe explain this and hopefully put this to rest, because it's taking up a lot of resources trying to explain this over and over and over again to get this people to understand. So, all right, so what we're doing here is we're going to create a very nice little diagram here of the flow of how we post. So this is going to say, let's say to Blogger. So this is going to be T1. And I'm sorry if you guys are having a hard time seeing this. I'll post the image when I'm done.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
On the in the notes area. Shit. Wish I had time to have had this done prior to this, guys, but I didn't, so forgive me. Flatten this real quick. I'll put this on there. Okay, so money site RSS, and I could have made that a hell of a lot smaller. That's all right. Money site RSS, guys, you're going to take your money site RSS feed, and you're going to push content to your Tier 1 properties. We all know that. I'm going to break this down into one single property. The flow from the beginning point to the end point. That's it, because it's the same for all of the properties. Okay, so I'm not going to confuse you or clutter this image up with multiple arrows and all that kind of stuff, because it's unnecessary. It's the same procedure, it's just multiplied over. Okay, so the money site RSS feed posts content to the Blogger, in this example, Tier 1 property. Then the Blogger Tier 1 property RSS feed. So the Blogger RSS feed from the Tier 1 network is going to post content to the Tier 2 property. So in this case, let's say Blogger Tier 2. And I said Blogger Tier 2 property. Okay? Does that make sense? So it's that, I mean, that's it in a nutshell. Okay? If we want to copy this to make it look like WordPress, where I think some people have an issue, is let's drop this in here and flatten it real quick. And we're going to change this up to read WordPress. So I'm just going to say wp.com. Okay? Okay, see that? So now wp.com Tier 2. Okay, so this one would be, obviously, that's going to be a WordPress.com RSS instead of Blogger RSS. Let me try clearing that up too before I get a bunch of support tickets about that. Sometimes I hate these drawing tools, guys, so bear with me one moment. Okay, you guys get it. It's not pretty, but it's functional. Okay, so very, very simple. It's an input and an output, and that's what an entry and an exit, and that's what the guy Michael that was on this developer that we're working with right now said today. That was just like bling, like a light bulb went off, and I said, "Holy S! This is how we're going to describe this today when we try to answer this question." Think of everything as an entry and an exit, an input and an output, right? So your money site, the input there would be the content that you produce, that you publish to your blog, at which point there's an exit. What's the exit? The exit is your RSS feed. Okay? Well, the RSS feed, it's looking for an input. Where is the input? The input is Blogger Tier 1. Or the input is WordPress Tier 1. Right? So what is the output? Well, the output at that point is it's gonna publish to those properties. But then there's also an output from those properties, an exit from those properties, which is the RSS feed. So now you're going to take that RSS feed and you're going to find an input for it. In this case, going to be the Blogger of Tier 2, or the WordPress of Tier 2, or the Tumblr of Tier 2. And you're going to connect that feed with that property so that the post that you publish here, which was auto-published because of what you published here, is going to post to that level. Does that make sense? Like, to me, I can't break it down any simpler than what it is right here. Like, honest to God, I don't think there's any way to make it any simpler than this. And so if you think about it in that fashion, as inputs and outputs, or entries and exits, entry points and exit points, then it should, in my mind, be very, very clear as to how to set up these tiered networks. The problem arises when you take, somehow, some way, when you take the feed from one of these and end up creating another recipe that feeds back into itself. But so if you're having issues with your networks where they're self-perpetuating themselves, they post and then they post again and they post again and they post again, it's because your chain of events is wrong somewhere. You've duplicated it somewhere. So break it down on a linear basis, just like you're seeing in this graphic here, and say, okay, where is my starting point and where is my ultimate end point? And follow that chain of events, that sequence, and see where your error has occurred. As long as you do it like this, it's literally step 1 input here, step 2 output here, step 3 input here, step 4 output here, and you should be able to walk through that sequence and see a very, very clear chain of events and how your content should flow through that network. Okay, I hope that was clear, because I, honest to God, don't know how to make it any clearer. And guys, I'm not trying to be a jerk about it. I'm just saying I have done multiple videos. I've tried to create multiple graphics on how to explain how to do tiered networks, and sometimes it's just not clicking, and I don't know how to explain it any other ways. Luckily, like I said, the guy we were on with today, he was able to give me this entry point and exit point idea, and I said, you know what, we'll run with it that way, because I can only figure out so many ways to explain this. So, hopefully that was helpful. I will post this in the Facebook group so you guys have this graphic, and hopefully that will help. Okay?
Cool. All right,
Okay,
well, we had a
done?
couple of questions, but I think they can ask them on Wednesday, you guys. If we didn't get to your questions, I think there's just 1 or 2, but we've been on for an hour. It's Friday. We got to wrap it up and get our other stuff taken care of.
Yeah, it looks like there's not a whole lot anyways.
Yep.
Yeah, I do want to answer this one briefly, Adam.
Sure.
FYI, there are some issues with IFTTT and the recipes. This is because of Google's changes that occurred this week, mostly because YouTube is now passing the YouTube shortened URL to the IFTTT URL insert tag. This has caused some embedding issues. Seems it no longer passes the watch URL to IFTTT any longer. I had to go and change URL to embed code instead in the recipe. Ken, thank you for that. We've had some people posting in the Facebook community about some issues, and guys, earlier this week YouTube was not working in IFTTT at all because YouTube changed and Google changed their OAuth, the way that we authenticate accounts, and that has wreaked havoc. Okay, it's something that it's up and it's working back now, but I guarantee you're probably going to have to go into a lot of your networks that you've already had pre-built and reauthorize the Blogger channels, the YouTube channels, and things like that. I am also noticing issues with IFTTT not posting to some of the properties properly, or YouTube not posting properly. In fact, because of one of the posts in our Facebook group about this issue, I was testing some Tumblr syndication issues. Guys, this is the nature of what we do. Things change. It's part of the web. Relax, take a deep breath, give it a few days, let the problems work themselves out. Typically, most of the time, the problems will work themselves out. Spending hours upon hours trying to figure out what's wrong and forcing something to work is not the best use of your time. It's going to end up leaving you frustrated and angry, and then you're going to end up posting a bunch of support questions that are going to leave us tired, frustrated, and angry. Okay? So instead, take a breather, take a break, go drink a beer, take a couple days off, go do some studying, do something like that, and allow the issues to start working themselves out, because most of the time they will. These are great, big, massive behemoth properties, Google and IFTTT and YouTube and Tumblr, all of it. So it's in their best interest to make this work. And so chances are most of the time these things will work themselves out. Then there's those of us that are willing to tinker with it and try to find a hack and a workaround, like what Ken is mentioning here. That's great. And Ken, thank you very much for that. I really appreciate you passing that on. In fact, I would ask that you also post this in the Facebook community, because I know there have been some posts recently about all these problems that are coming up, guys. And this big issue with IFTTT and Google's changing how it authenticates just happened this week, guys. Just let the dust settle. We'll get it worked out, and we promise we'll pass the information on once we have it, okay? So y'all just take a little bit of a breather and relax, okay? Because otherwise you're going to drive all of us nuts too, and that's not good for any of us either. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up for Friday. It was a very busy week. We've got a lot going on next week as well. So we appreciate you guys coming back for a special Hump Day Hangouts to get your questions answered, and we will see you guys next week. Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Marco.
Yeah, that was a good one. We'll see everybody next week.
All right, bye.
Bye, everyone.